this topic is about Asia Pacific's uncertain nuclear future. We have with us Sung-Hwan, Dr. from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Korea, and Professor Park Younwon, who is teaching at Korea Advanced Institute of Science and Technology. So I guess what I wanted to do was just give each of our speaker a few minutes to maybe talk about what they think is the critical issue on Asia's nuclear future, given the post-Fukushima crisis, which has been an issue that's been part of the discussion at this year's conference. It's interesting that we have two Koreans, one a government spokesman and the other an academic and an expert in nuclear engineering to say a few words about this. But if I recall the discussion from yesterday's panels, the suggestion was that the risks associated with production of power through nuclear power plants is far more safer than any other alternatives, and also far cleaner than fossil fuel alternatives. So I just wanted to get a feel for what Dr. Oh or Professor Park thinks about this issue, given that Japan has yet to start any of the nuclear power plants post-Fukushima, which goes against what was said yesterday about this particular issue. And where do you see Korea or Japan and China going on this with regards to nuclear power? So why don't you say a couple of minutes and say a few words in a couple of minutes. I'll start with Dr. Oh, and then we'll go to Professor Park, and then we'll just take questions.
Thank you, James. Actually, for me, this media roundtable seems to be some very, not familiar, because without any journalist in front of me, I have to behave myself something very, similar to like media roundtable. Anyway, today we will have some roundtable session, and the roundtable session will highlight the nuclear safety in the Northeast Asia. And actually, yesterday we covered the same topic with the scaling up of nuclear and nuclear energy in the whole energy mix in Northeast Asia. Actually, yesterday we heard about very important and interesting information from the distinguished speakers, and so I'd like to today just focus on nuclear safety issue itself. And I was given by the MBL organizer 3 questions actually before this PES, and the first question was what's the current status for the region? Actually, what was the reality of the concerns of over the nuclear safety in the region? And second was the is there any multilateral regional mechanism exist in the region or not? And final question was, how effectively work together to ensure more safer nuclear future. So I'll follow the instruction of MBL, and let me start with the first question. Actually, the first question already explained by yesterday's speakers, and I just want to wrap up because I don't want to go into detail. For example, China right now operates 20 nuclear units and 28 under construction. The number 28 is very significant because it accounts for 40% of total nuclear power plants under construction in the world. And further, 35 units is planned to build in total by 2020. It means China will have 83 units in near future. And what does it mean? It means the scale, the size of the nuclear power plants will increase 4 times more than current situation in 10 years. Actually, Korea, for Korea, it matters because as you know, most of the power plants of China will be concentrated on the east coast of China. That means Korea is very close to the China, and we say about cross-border accident, but for Korea, if something happen, some accident happen, it means not cross-border, within the almost within the territory. And in addition to that, we have, we have to think about westerlies. It means if something happens through the ocean, it will impact almost directly to Korean Peninsula. For reference, we have some accident in Japan, in Fukushima Daiichi. But actually, because of the westerlies effect, it flow away to the Pacific Ocean. So the impact was not devastating to Korean Peninsula. Second, next I will sum up the profile of Korea, Japan, and Korea. After Fukushima accident, the scale of the nuclear units of Japan is not certain because although they have 48 units right now, owns and shut down. So after Fukushima, the nuclear energy policy is not decided, and the nuclear energy industry has dwindled drastically. But Japan remains as the world third largest nuclear power owner. So we have to take into account, and actually right now I heard that 18 or 19 units for restarting, they are under maybe a safety review by the NSA, National Security Agency, and the outcome will be announced maybe at the end of this year. And for Korea actually operates right now 23 units, and four units, five units are under construction, and 6 units is planned to be built by 2024. It means in 10 years Korea will have 34 units. So let's sum up all the numbers of nuclear power plants in Northeast Asia. The number will become 165 units, including status quo situation of nuclear power plants of Japan. I will raise some reference to compare because we have currently 434 units in the world in operation. So how huge the size of the nuclear power plants in 10 years in the Northeast Asia? That's why just I'd like to take some consideration with this regard, because the importance of Korea's role in the region should be emphasized, and because of the following reason. First of all, Korea has more concern compared to other two countries due to the geographical proximity, because only Korea is directly adjacent to the neighboring countries, China and Japan, not like other countries. And for example, from Incheon, which you maybe landed in the international airport, and there are Shandong province, where the 4 new nuclear power plants is planned to be built by 2016. 2 more units will be built. The distance is only 500 kilometers distance, and for Fukushima and Busan, the southern east city, port city, the distance is only 200 kilometers. It's quite close. So we have a very direct interest in nuclear safety in the region. And second one is actually, according to the experiences and historical experiences, Korea has relatively convenient position in coordinating with other two countries. For example, bilateral relationship with China or bilateral relationship with Japan is relatively they are more convenient compared to the one between China and Japan. So we have some more convenient position in coordinating among the three countries. And finally, the most important thing is Korea should play a role more leading manner, because Korea is the world's 5th largest nuclear power plant producer, and actually the share of the electricity generation in the energy mix accounts for 30%. That means it is second after France. So in my opinion, Korea's role is not duly accounted, and so far underestimated, if it is correct. So my assertion is Korea should play a more actively engaged in the ensuring nuclear safety in Northeast Asia. So I can turn on to next question about is there any mechanism that address the safety of the operation? Yes, exists. There is the trilateral mechanism called TRM, Top Regulators Meeting. Among 3 regulators, Chinese, for example, NNSC, and Japanese NSA, and the Korean NSSC, all the regulators organizations set up a forum to share information and exchange experience in terms of a regulatory point of view. It was held annually since its launch in 2008, and actually last year in Shanghai in China, 6th TRM meeting was held, and I think I joined the TRM at the time meeting, and I think that occasion was very remarkable, achieved remarkable result, because finally just three countries agreed on some tangible consensus on some areas to hold joint emergency preparedness drill, for example, an online information sharing system, and organized working group of human resources development, etc. So that will be implemented in detailed manner. So desirable mechanism exists, and then at this point, actually, I'd like to address final question, which I have already explained to you. For example, how this mechanism could work more efficiently. I just remind you the 6th TRM in China. Actually, at that time, three countries established very serious multilateral mechanism called the TRM plus. What does it mean plus? Under the umbrella of TRM, three countries agreed to extend the scope of cooperation, not only TRM member countries, extend to other countries, relevant other countries including the US and Russia, and other international organizations such as, for example, IAEA and OECD NEA. Why? Because nuclear safety issue is not related to the only regulators. There are so many stakeholders. So, as mentioned earlier by Vice Minister Cho, nuclear accident anywhere means nuclear accident everywhere. That means, the U.S. and Russia and Japan, all three countries suffered from serious, the top number 3 largest nuclear accident, and it is required to share some experiences about maybe some how to management evacuation plan, or some what radiation water leak, something like that. And so I attended before this PES last week to TRM CG group coordination group meeting, and we decide detail about the TRM. And first TRM will be held in Japan, back-to-back TRM, and a workshop style of TRM plus. And the theme will be focused on Fukushima Daiichi lesson learned. And the second TRM plus will be held in Seoul in a wider form of like symposium. 3 days, we will invite all the stakeholders. We will host 1.3 track. And here in maybe Marriott, we will have from 26th to 28th of November. So it completes my short briefing. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Roh, for that overview. We highlighted some of the challenges because of the situation in Japan, but you didn't touch on a particular challenge, maybe rightly so, which was addressed yesterday by one of the panelists from Korea about Korea's challenges in nuclear power. One dealing with the spent fuel capacity being reached very soon, and yet plans to expand. Maybe Professor Park can address some of this from a technical standpoint. Is the interim measures stuff that the measures that Korea is planning or they're considering, and I hear the reports coming out next year on this. Is this a feasible option for Korea, or does this mean complete shutdown and if so, for how long? What are the is nuclear-free Korea a possibility? Is Korea facing the same kind of situation that Japan is in right now? What are some of the solutions to the problem? And is this a concern for other countries like China? I would assume that in China it's less of a concern. But if you could maybe talk about some of the things that Dr. Roh highlighted and your own views about those, but in particular, some of the challenges associated with nuclear energy.
Okay, thank you. I would like to talk three issues. First of all, I'd like to emphasize that the very good initiative of this nuclear energy summit to include nuclear energy as one of the energy resources, together with all the other, the gas, petroleum, and also renewable energy. So I think that is a very good opportunity to deal with nuclear as one of the energy option, not just for Korea, for all the other countries in the Pacific Basin. And second thing, that is we had one nuclear session yesterday that was the scaling up. But most of the audience appealed to me to have particular interest in the Fukushima accident. So before scaling up nuclear energy, I think the most important and necessary condition is the nuclear safety. So, of course, today we are going to talk about this nuclear safety, how to improve, and also international relationship, international cooperation. And on the third topic, on the waste, of course, Korea is challenged with a different issue, a nuclear issue. The first invisible option, that is waste. Of course, Korea government try to resolve this issue for a long time, but we couldn't so far. And we could determine the low and intermediate repository site several years ago in Gyeongju site, and that is still under construction. But we don't have any definitive solution for the high-level waste, including spent fuel. And this year, the government launched a big program to have some open discussion with the participation of the public to determine this high-level waste repository site. But I think it will take a long time. And as an interim measure, of course, we need to find some other solution. So then might be stored spent fuel at site, but still that pose quite a lot of difficulty. That is the real situation. So anyway, to go further, nuclear, I think Korea should to cope with this particular issue, and also we need to find some solution, whatever it is, intermediate or final. And maybe there are some roundtable discussion with the United States to move forward this to resolve this issue. But I think also they will take time. And anyway, we expect maybe in less than in 10 years, all the spent fuel pool in Korean nuclear power plant will be full. So before this the time frame, we should find some solution. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Professor Park. So we have since you asked for it, we have someone from the U.S. on who could maybe speak to this issue. We have Robert Boudreau joining us from the Department of Energy. He's the Associate Deputy Assistant Secretary for International Nuclear Energy Policy and Cooperation. Mr. Boudreau, a couple of things. With the expansion of the shale gas and tight oil boom in the United States, it seems that the shift has occurred. Less nuclear. Four plants shut down last year, if I recall, based on what I understand. It seems gas price, Henry Hub price, is very affordable. I was in the U.S. last 2 months, and my energy bill hasn't been that bad. So things are looking good from the U.S. standpoint as far as natural gas is concerned, and as well as perhaps even oil, petroleum. And we're talking here about in Asia, it's a different situation, even with the pipeline deal in Russia. First and foremost, what is the U.S.'s position on nuclear safety and nuclear security issues in Asia? And what is the value added from the U.S. standpoint, if there's anything that the U.S. can do? If not, what do you recommend that the countries do in sort of pressing ahead with nuclear power as one of the most important elements in the energy mix? In Japan, it seems it's there from everything. All indications from the politicians is that it's not going to be an option, or it's going to be it's never coming back. Do you see that as is that a present-day reality? I mean, what would this mean with regards to U.S. policies, with regards to the alliances that it has with many other countries here, and your thoughts, if any at all?
Well, I think I'll start with safety and security. Yes, the United States is involved. We're very interested in nuclear safety, and our colleagues here in China, Japan, and Korea are also very interested. We have bilateral dialogues, and I think that when you look at the IAEA, which has been mentioned often here in this summit, all of us look at that as a bedrock of safety, and all of us look to it. If you look at Fukushima, the IAEA post-Fukushima plan is very important, and we're all working on that. So there's very much an all when it comes to nuclear safety. On nuclear security, many of the countries here participated in the Nuclear Security Summit that we had in March 14 in The Hague communique. And I think the IAEA is sponsoring a security meeting also. So you're seeing these global challenges, I think, in safety and security being managed in a global way. But you have a global challenge with regional solutions. Certainly, I'll just touch on the natural gas price, because that equation's not as clear as it sounds. Yes, it has an impact. Yes, the United States has several reactors shutting down. Some we're going to shut down anyway. Some it's economics. We also have 5 under construction. We have 4 AP1000, which will produce 1,200 megawatts each, and we have Watts Bar. If you look at that new build, and that will not be the end of new build. So as we look out into the future, nuclear for the United States is going to continue to play a major role. As you look around the world, Asia is building a good number of nuclear plants. China alone has 22 under construction and plans for many more. So, in the context of today, you have 35 reactors operating. You have 72 under construction. And there are projections for 309 more in the next 15 years. That's a significant number of reactors. All of them are the new reactors, which are much safer in many ways. It's not that the old ones aren't safe, but the new ones have the passive safety. The kinds of things that happened at Fukushima should not happen with the Gen 3 plus reactors. So we're looking at that nuclear future. It is the best, I think, it is the best technology, existing technology to address climate change, and the United States sees that. Our energy secretary says that. We support the safe, secure, and efficient deployment of nuclear power. But we shouldn't run by key issues like used fuel. And how do we manage that? I think there's 250 metric tons in the world today, and there's more produced all the time. How do we, in fact, handle that? Our chair mentioned, you mentioned that the United States has looked at it. We had a Blue Ribbon Commission in the United States that was President Obama put together to look at what we do with used fuel. And, the technology exists it has several ideas to it. One is that you have interim storage in a cask, dry cask storage. That's a very mature technology. I invite you to go and look at some of the casking yourself and see how mature this is. Is it a long-term solution? Not if you think in terms of 100 years or two. No, it isn't. But it does give you time, 50, sometimes 100 years. The Russians cask, we cask. So casking is an option. And we would build under the Blue Ribbon Commission plan, we would build a pilot facility. Then we would build a bigger facility. Geologic repository. There's a lot of science that has gone into this. The United States has had problems with Yucca Mountain. We just face those right on. We've had problems. That doesn't take geologic repository off the table. And I think that's a good place to come to the collaboration here in North Asia. These key countries, this is a global problem, but it will need a regional solution. A geologic repository is not a bad idea. It really needs to be thought about. You need stakeholder involvement. That's been mentioned. So as I look at Japan and Korea and China and others in the region, not every country can even think about hosting it. The newcomer countries, it's not economically viable to reprocess, and it may be economically challenging to store. So maybe on a regional basis, there's a regional place for used fuel that's cast for certain casks for a certain amount of time. I'm not saying that it should be done, but it is an option. And I do think that collaboration between the countries is essential on this. They can look at the science, they can look at the options, they can look at the cost, and they can actually reduce the risk, the financial risk, by taking these kinds of collaborative decisions. And I also think that contributes to safety. I'm very, very supportive of the TRM. ASEAN has ASEAN Atom, which is an attempt to harmonize regulations for the countries here in Asia. I think these are very, very important. Our Nuclear Regulatory Commission supports that. We've had a lot of talk in the last couple of days about transparency. We work very hard on that in the United States. Other countries work very hard on it. We have the internet today, which is very valuable. So I see the collaboration as very important. I see used fuel as a key issue, key challenge, but not intractable. and I see cooperation as a must on the bedrock issues of safety, which really are regulation, training, sharing best practices, talking to each other, what went right, what didn't go right, how can we make sure that it doesn't happen again, what is the best way to do this? And the best way to get those answers is to work together.
Okay, great. So, some hopeful signs, if we could put those ideas to practice, and I think we could address some of the challenges. At least it's a start.
Okay, thank you. Good. Thank you.